Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online regulation J VGC ladder in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and provide live commentary as I go. In this video, I'm going to be featuring the highest ranking Ho-Oh team from the previous ranked season. This team finished, I think, top 5 in the in-game ladder at the end of the ranked season, and this Ho-Oh set in particular is really unique and honestly a complete nightmare to fight against. It is really annoying, really bulky. You've got Life Dew, you've got Leftovers, you've got Tailwind, you've got Sacred Fire. So the idea is that the Ho-Oh can set up Tailwind for its teammates multiple times. It's really difficult to knock out, and you can consistently heal your teammates with Life Dew as well. Ho-Oh in general is a Pokemon that hasn't gotten a ton of love in competitive VGC, but I feel like Scarlet and Violet was its best game / generation. It was able to do well in the single restricted format as well as the dual restricted format. Still a relatively niche pick, but of course can completely wall common Pokemon like Koraidon as well as Amazenton. So as always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps down below, and thanks so much as always for joining me. If you enjoy, I'd really appreciate if you consider leaving a like in the video or subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a ton. Also, as you've probably seen, I haven't been super active on the channel recently, partially because I've been out of town so much and also just super busy, and also because VGC is in this weird holding period right now where we have like 3 different formats. So I want to know from you all what you would like to see in terms of content on this channel. I'm excited to dive back into Regulation F. We're rounding out Regulation H right now, and J, of course, is still the in-game ladder. And so we're all, I think, looking ahead to Champions, but I still want to make content for all of you because I love making content. It is so fun. And so, yeah, I just want to know what you all want to see the most of in these upcoming days and weeks as we kind of wrap up these formats. So let me know. Before we get started, today's video is sponsored by FlexiSpot. FlexiSpot makes awesome office furniture ranging from standing desks to chairs, and I love their products. I was a grad student over a year and a half ago, and they sent me a desk, and I used that desk every day. It was my main desk, and it was a huge upgrade from the cheap office desk that I had before. As you know, I spend a lot of time at my desk, whether it be recording YouTube videos or just playing games, as well as editing videos and working from home. And so FlexiSpot has been super, super clutch in giving me a big upgrade in my office workspace. They've got 2 products that I want to shout out in particular. The first is their E7 standing desk, which has honestly been a game changer. It's super sturdy, adjusts easily, and feels premium. It's also easy to build. My brother and I put this together in under an hour. It also holds up to 355 pounds without breaking a sweat, allowing me to fit myself, my huge Piplup plush, Bidoof, as well as my actual monitor. Being able to switch from sitting to standing throughout the day has made a huge difference, both for my posture and productivity. Plus, the desk comes with a 15-year warranty and a 30-day risk-free return policy, so you can always try it out worry-free. In addition, FlexiSpot has this awesome chair called the C7M chair. If you're sitting for hours like I am, comfort really does matter. This chair has basically all the features that I really look for in a nice chair. It's got an adjustable headrest, backrest, lumbar support, seat depth, cushion, armrests, and it's able to recline, which is probably my favorite overall feature. It's genuinely comfortable even after sitting in for an entire workday, and it comes with a 10-year warranty and a 30-day return policy. If you're interested in upgrading your workspace, now's the time to do so because FlexiSpot is running some huge deals on both the chair as well as the standing desk. Go to the links down in the description below to get discounts immediately, and you can apply these codes for the desk as well as the chair, YTE730 for the desk as well as C730 for the chair to get an additional $30 off. Huge thank you to FlexiSpot for both sponsoring today's video as well as for providing me with some awesome chairs and desks throughout the years. I truly, truly appreciate them and love their products, so hope you get the chance to check them out. If you're interested in trying out the team, the rental code is on the screen, and there's also an accompanying PokePaste down in the description below. This was the highest ranking Ho-Oh team of the previous ranked season, finishing, I believe, number 4 globally, and it features a very unique set of Sacred Fire, Life Dew, Tailwind, as well as Protect. As mentioned, this Ho-Oh is just an absolute nightmare to fight against because it's so bulky. You've got healing, you've got regenerator. It pairs really nicely with that Tailwind to set up for Koraidon, which is modest rather than timid. With Life Orb, you can switch your moves and do a ton of damage as well. Urshifu under Tailwind is obviously very powerful, and you've got Ting-Lu, which can pair nicely with Ho-Oh, reducing the special damage that you're often going to go up against, and also doing a ton of damage with attacks like Earthquake and Stomping Tantrum. And, of course, to round things out, you've got the Incineroar Amoonguss core. But this Ho-Oh is just really, really disruptive and can often just fish for burns and heal for forever. For some quick context, this team ended up finishing 4th in the previous ranked season, and as you can see, Ho-Oh definitely stands out as a pick in this format because not a lot of people are using it. Actually, out of all the teams in the top 30 that were revealed, this was the only Ho-Oh team, and so I think the fact that I had Ho-Oh as well as Ting-Lu just made it really intriguing, and so huge shoutouts to the Japanese player who ended up having such a high climb with it, as you can see here, finishing number 4 in ranked season 35. Breaking down the team, the first one we have to highlight, of course, is Ho-Oh. Now, when you see Ho-Oh normally in the restricted formats in Scarlet and Violet, it's often fairly offensive, right, using both Sacred Fire as well as Brave Bird, which gives you very good offensive coverage. This Ho is actually a lot more defensive. It basically has no attack investment, and your max HP near max defense here with a little bit of speed. The speed is important here because it means under Tailwind you outspeed Calyrex Shadow Rider, which is obviously a very important benchmark, but the main idea is that you are meant to be as defensive as possible. Max HP, max defense here because Ho's base special defense stat is so incredible, and then you also have the Ting-Lu on this team to, of course, combo with the Ho-Oh to further drastically decrease your opponent's special damage. The idea behind this Ho-Oh is that it just stays on the field for forever, right? And when it's about to get knocked out, you can switch it out, Regenerator activates, and you get to heal back even more. The combination of Life Dew plus Leftovers plus Regenerator means that it's really difficult to knock this out, and Ho often can serve a really important role in dealing with annoying Pokemon that Miraidon doesn't love going up against. For example, in this format, one of the main ways that people counter Miraidon is to bring their own terrain, namely Rillaboom, but Rillaboom has an awful matchup into Ho-Oh, right? Especially because you just have like no damage into it whatsoever. And so what you can often do with the Miraidon is like bait out the Rillaboom to hit the field, then you can use Ho-Oh and Incineroar, a combination of those, to deal with the Rillaboom. Once Rillaboom is knocked out, that often opens the door for Miraidon to just sweep your opponents, right? And so this is like a really, really good duo because Ho covers for what people normally use to counter the Miraidon. Sacred Fire is an incredible move. You're often going to click this like 5-6 times throughout the course of a game, and even into Pokemon that resist it, getting a burn is a really big deal because that chip damage can really add up. It's also very good into Pokemon like Rillaboom as well as Calyrex Ice Rider, for example, and often will be doing, 30 to 40% to Pokemon that just take neutral damage from it. Life Dew is so good not only in healing yourself, but of course healing your teammates as well. That's especially important when you have super bulky Pokemon like the Amoonguss, like the Ting-Lu, and like the Incineroar on this team. Ho-Oh also crucially can set up Tailwind, so that allows your Miraidon to just outpace things. This Miraidon is timid, but it's not max speed, as you can see here, and so that Tailwind often will give you confidence to outspeed Calyrex Shadow Rider, as well as opposing Miraidons and Koraidons. It also means that the Urshifu will be able to outpace anything that doesn't have speed control on the opposing side either, so Tailwind really crucial in just boosting up the speeds of Ho-Oh, Urshifu, and Miraidon in particular. This Miraidon is a Life Orb set, which gives you the flexibility of switching your moves. It means, of course, you drop the combo of like Fairy Terra, Dazzling Gleam, which you often see on the choice spec sets, but the flexibility of Life Orb often is really nice because it means you can alternate between Draco Meteor and Electro Drift. Also, on the latter, people often expect you to just be specs, and so they play like that, and being able to protect, for example, in front of a Fake Out on turn 1 is a really big deal. Life Orb Miraidon was one of the big techs that people started using going into the World Championships in 2025, replacing the common specs Miraidon, and just that flexibility can change people's game plans a lot. This is Electric Terra to just further increase your Electro Drift and Volt Switch damage, and you can often create win cons where, let's say you eliminate your opponent's Rillaboom or ground type Pokemon, then Miraidon can come in, Electro Drift, Electric Terra, everything, and just get knockout after knockout after knockout. It's really important to know that Miraidon is such a big piece of this team's offense, so if it faints, you often will be in a lot of trouble because you don't have a ton of offense from things like Ho-Oh and Ting-Lu. Like, they can be disruptive, they can chip away, they can do 40 to 50%, but they're not getting one-hit knockouts. Miraidon is like the number one Pokemon on this team that can actually secure those KOs, and so you have to play really well with this, I think, often in order to get the max mileage out of this team. Otherwise, you've got classic support from Pokemon like Amoonguss as well as Incineroar. Nothing too crazy about these sets. The main thing to call out here is that you do have the Yache Berry in Amoonguss. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is if you are up against a Calyrex Ice Rider, which is one of the premier Ice-type Pokemon, like the Yache Berry actually is not going to work because of Calyrex's ability, but this still helps out against a lot of other random Ice-type attacks like Ice Beams, for example, from Kyogre, which actually has been super relevant. Kyogre can be quite annoying for this team because it just like absolutely demolishes Ho-Oh, and it's to a point where you actually often think about dropping Ho in that matchup, but the Yache can just allow you to survive for an extra turn or two, and that can go a really, really long way in the matchups where it is super relevant. Otherwise, you've got the Pollen Puff here, which is just like double annoying for your opponents to deal with because you can combo Pollen Puff with the Life Dew and just keep healing back. Urshifu's nice on this team mainly from a damage perspective, because otherwise you're kind of lacking on damage. Combos quite nicely, especially if you get that Tailwind up, and Focus Sash means you often be able to at least get 1 or 2 big attacks off with it. Incineroar here is the classic Assault Vest set. The main thing to note is that your Water Terra here, and so this is actually going to be a really good defensive Terra as well, especially into opposing, say, Water-type Pokemon and attacks like Urshifu or Kyogre. And then finally, to round things out, you've got Ting-Lu. Ting-Lu's not really common in this format these days, but we did see it actually have really good usage or like really good performances when we were playing the dual restricted format without mythical Pokemon. I think it's not the easiest Pokemon to use, but it's very powerful into Miraidon, which of course is one of the most common Pokemon in the format. The idea behind Ting-Lu is simple, right? You obviously can soak up damage, especially from Miraidon. You also do a ton of damage with ground-type attacks like Earthquake and Stomping Tantrum. And Ruination can be really good in chipping away your opponents, right? Often, if you get a Ruination off, it'll put it in Sacred Fire KO range or Surging Strikes KO range or Volt Switch KO range from the Miraidon. And the Ting-Lu can just stay on the field for a really long time. So if I see a Miraidon in my opponent's team in Team Preview, I'm thinking Ting-Lu. If I see something like Calyrex Shadow Rider, I'm thinking Ting-Lu as well. The main thing to note is that this is such a slow Pokemon that even if you set up Tailwind, it's not really outpacing things. So sometimes that can feel a little bit awkward where you want to set up Tailwind, but then you want the Miraidon to hit the field, but Ting-Lu's kind of stuck, right? But it combos really nicely with Ho. I find this to actually often be a really difficult lead for opponents to go up against because you have so much bulk. They can't knock you out. You can go for Ruination, you can go for Life Dew, Sacred Fire, and then slowly chip things off. And often what I try to do with this team is like get a big knockout and then try to like keep the ball rolling. But often it will take a couple of turns to actually get that first KO because your main ways of bursting through are going to be Miraidon. So lots of different ways that you can play with the team. I often like leading Ho-Oh with a combination of like Incin, Miraidon, or Ting-Lu, and then going from there. So in terms of weaknesses and things to watch out for, first of all, I think that the team can be relatively passive depending on the 2 Pokemon around on the field, right? So if Miraidon's not on the field, like a combination of Ho-Oh, Amoonguss, Incin, and Ting-Lu means you often won't be exerting the most amount of offensive pressure. So that's something that you'll have to watch out for. Another thing to think about is like shared weaknesses, right? And so, for example, Incineroar and Ting-Lu are both weak to water as well as fighting. And so, like, an opposing water Urshifu can be scary, and opposing Zamazenta can be scary. Zamazenta has a terrible matchup into Pokemon like Ho and Amoonguss, but can still be pretty decent into Incineroar and Ting-Lu, right? I also think that the team is vulnerable to Miraidon just getting burst down immediately. If you lose your Miraidon and don't take positive trades with it, you often will fall behind significantly. For example, I had one practice game where my opponent had Ground Terra Shadow Rider with Tailwind support. They set up Tailwind and just Terra Blasted me turn 1. I lost Miraidon, and I was playing the game down 3v4, and that just felt basically too hard to come back from, because like Miraidon often is like the key piece in dealing a lot of damage, right? So ground type attacks in particular, really good against this Miraidon. Also important to note that because you are not max speed here, opposing Miraidons and Koraidons that are max speed can threaten you for a one-hit knockout, so you have to be careful. Ho-Oh here is very vulnerable to Intimidate, right? So opposing Incineroar can be annoying because then your Sacred Fires just basically do no damage. Fire types, Fire Terras are going to be really good in dealing with it as well, because it means that you can resist the Sacred Fire and you don't get burned from it. And so if you have Ho-Oh on the field, but then you don't really have real good damage next to it, that can be annoying. Like, I think a really smart Incineroar player can get a lot of mileage out of it because they can keep cycling in. And like, for example, like Incineroar in Sun can be annoying because like normally to deal with Incineroar, you want like Urshifu, but if the Sun is up, then you do even less damage. And so that's something to watch out for in particular as well. And then otherwise, I think that sometimes you are just a little bit slow with this team, even with Tailwind up, because like Amoonguss and Taylor are obviously super slow, so they don't really get much mileage out of Tailwind, right? And so you have to be careful about that as well. Opposing teams that also have their own Tailwind and then faster Pokemon can be scary, because then like you don't get a ton of mileage out of your own Tailwind. Also, naturally for Ho-Oh, going up against like rock type damage can be really scary. It's not the most common in this format, but it's still something to watch out for. And then Kyogre is one of the main restricted that I actually often find Ho-Oh to be really tough to bring into, because it just like Sacred Fire does no damage, and then you're just out on the field. I think in those matchups, like Water Terra Incin is definitely like the better option instead of like Fairy Terra Ho-Oh, for example. But yeah, those are just a couple of things to call out. Okay, we've got Koraidon, Ice Rider, Landorus, Rillaboom, Incin, Smeargle. It looks like the team got top 4 at the World Championships, piloted by Hirofumi Kimura. That Smeargle set was really interesting because it had Ruination. And then it was also Leech Seed Ice Rider, which we actually have to be really careful about because it can stall games out pretty well. We also don't have Brave Bird on Ho-Oh, so hitting Koraidon's actually a little bit more difficult, and like Incineroar is kind of a pain. Miraidon's going to be really important from our end, I think. I'm just getting a lot of burst damage with that. Water Terra is also not bad on like Amoonguss, for example. I think I'm leaning towards something like Ho-Oh Miraidon to exert maximum offensive pressure. Amoonguss in the back. Incin's good into Ice Rider here. Urshifu's kind of awkward because with the Sun up, it just doesn't do enough. And Tinglu doesn't feel that good into 2 physical restricteds here. Like, the only special damage is Landorus, and we're not too worried about it, I think. But the key Pokemon in this matchup is going to be Miraidon for damage. I played against one of these while practicing with the team, and basically, if it's the Leech Seed Ice Rider set, it can be really annoying. And then also, like, the combination of Koraidon, Incin, plus Rilla as a trio can be pretty scary, but we're actually going to see Koraidon Ice Rider immediately. Okay, I don't mind that too much. See who's... whether it's weather or terrain that goes off first, because I think having the faster Miraidon's a big deal here. One of the advantages is Ho-Oh's really good into this duo. Okay, so we are faster. That is good to know. Trick Room is obviously a very real threat. I could honestly just go for something like Electric Terra here. Draco into Koraidon. Sacred Fire into Ice Rider. Koraidon could protect as you set up Trick Room right now is the main thing. So, yeah, like you could go protect Trick Room right now. Terra this as well. I'm leaning towards Volt Switch, Sacred Fire, Ice Rider. Nice, Koraidon protects. I mean, it could be a double, but... like, I actually feel like if you're not tearing Ice Rider, it should be a double. Okay, yeah. That's fine with me, though. I think a double just puts them in a more awkward game state. And I think I can actually make the same play this next turn as well. If I were them, I would probably want to pivot in Rillaboom or Incineroar right now into one of these slots. I think I also could go Draco into Koraidon, but then this could switch out into Rillaboom to change the terrain. So I actually don't hate doubling up onto Ice Rider again right now. Yeah, I think I'm down for that. Sacred Fire here. Volt Switch as well. I could also see them pivoting Koraidon out into Incineroar right now. Let's see. They stay in with both. Okay. It's going to be a Terra commit on the Ice Rider into Fairy. Let's see if that helps him actually survive this. Could have gone Draco there into Koraidon, but I thought a switch here felt really likely from their end. That's really good damage. I feel like Sacred Fire should still get the knockout, which is partially why I went for this play. My guess is you would go for a low kick into the Miraidon slot, so I'm actually going to pivot in Amoonguss here. And even if they knock out Amoonguss, it's fine. It's not super important in this matchup. Yep, there's low kick. Nice. Sacred Fire doesn't miss. In the Sun. Does not get the knockout, unfortunately. It's bulky enough to survive, and I will eat up the Glacial Lands. Okay, that was a little unfortunate, but it's still okay. We have the Yache Berry and Amoonguss, but unfortunately it's actually not super relevant here. I think this is still okay, though, because Miraidon's damage output is just so good. My guess is here you would want to protect this. Attack into Amoonguss. I actually think I'm okay going for... Life Dude. I could switch into Incin. Getting that knockout would have been so good, because then Amoonguss would have just, like, put in so much pressure here, but I think it's still okay. Yeah, I think this turn I'm going to go Life Dew and protect. Get some healing. Kind of surprised to see them just risk like the Koraidon last turn from a Draco, but we've got them to commit their Terra, right? So, and they didn't really, well, actually they did get value to it because it allowed them to survive. Yep, there's the Protect on Ice Rider, great. And the cool thing about Ho-Oh here is I just don't really care about Koraidon's attacks. I can survive anything from your end and just heal back. Yeah, they'll go for a Flame Charge, but that's fine. Because what I can do this next turn is now set up Tailwind. The question is whether or not I even want to set up Tailwind, honestly. We've got good healing on Amoonguss here. They'll probably want to Flame Charge Amoonguss. I can pivot that out into Incineroar. I'm going to go for the knockout onto Ice Rider here, I think. I don't mind going for Sacred Fire here. And then pivoting Incin. One thing to also think about is that Koraidon can't Terra. Nothing else on their team can Terra, right? Which is a big deal for us. We just want to be careful about Miraidon getting blown up by Koraidon, but we'll be able to match their speed by getting a Tailwind up. And also the Sun turns are slowly expiring, and once Sun is gone, the Koraidon is less scary as well. It was just a shame to have missed out the knockout on the Ice Rider with the Volt Switch, Sacred Fire, double up. Like, I could have... And they actually pivot out here, which makes sense. I think Incineroar coming in here would make a lot of sense. Oh, it's Landorus. Okay. Yeah, Ho-Oh feels great here, getting a huge Sacred Fire off. I'm curious. I feel like if you had Incin, you would have brought it out in this game, so it's more likely Rillaboom, I feel like, is the last one. And obviously, you don't want to switch that in on Sacred Fire. Perfect. They Flame Charged. Obviously, I opened up the risk of them low kicking there, but I figured they wouldn't. Sacred Fire does not miss here. Beautiful. It's a ton of damage, and it gets a burn on the Landorus. Cool. Yeah, as you can see, they're just really struggling to dish out damage into Ho-Oh, which is really nice. I think this next turn is interesting. So the last turn of Terrain, last turn of Sun. You could obviously low kick. I could commit Water Terra to this. It would make sense for them to Earth Power plus low kick this slot. This is at +2 now. I think we definitely want to set up a Tailwind. I think Tailwind, sacrifice Amoonguss feels okay here. Yeah, I'm okay with this. The fact that Amoonguss like took all that damage and is also at 60% right now is really sweet. And Koraidon protects, even better. Okay, nice. I mean, you could double protect here to stall out. Earth Power comes out, and we actually end up surviving. I would have preferred to have fainted there because it would have given me a free switch in, but it's fine. Crucially, we get Tailwind up now. Sunlight fades. Cool. And that protect makes sense because they didn't know Ho-Oh's full moveset, so if you think I have Brave Bird, fake out versus Brave Bird is obviously really threatening. I think now it makes sense for them to just low kick into the Amoonguss slot. I'm down to just Sacred Fire Landorus, and honestly, like, I'm fine losing Amoonguss here. It's done what I needed to do, which was soak up damage throughout the course of this game. Like, even if they protect Landorus, knock out my Amoonguss, I get the free switch and into Miraidon. Like, yeah, I could life do, but I don't think I'm actually getting a ton of value out of that. The main thing is we just want to start getting some knockouts because I want to force, assuming their last one is Rillaboom, I want that Rillaboom to hit the field sooner than later so I can deal with it. It's part of, once again, the theory between the Miraidon plus the Ho-Oh combo, right? You counter what is really annoying for Rillaboom, or sorry, really annoying for Miraidon in Rillaboom. I think they got annoyed with all the switching, and were trying to predict me here, but this puts them in a really bad spot. I mean, it should just win us the game, as they ignored the Amoonguss slot completely, letting me get a Spore off. I think this was a good example of a turn where I was like, the best case is like me getting the Spore off. I don't ever expect to get it off, but if I get it off, I probably just win, right? And I think low kick into the Amoonguss slot is always pretty safe, but yeah, like even if I protect there, right? The Ho-Oh, it's not like the Flame Charge really does any damage to Ho-Oh anyway. So I think this turn allows me to probably just run away with the game, but we'll see. It is Rillaboom coming in, which is fantastic for us here. Great. So you think they would probably go for Fake Out into the Ho-Oh slot, which is fine. I'm okay just switching in Amoonguss out here. Sacred Fire into you, switch out into Incin. And then I think from here on out, we can probably go for Water Terra with Incineroar this next turn and just Flare Blitz Sacred Fire the Rilla slot. Basically, once we knock out Rillaboom, we have full terrain control, which means a single Draco Meteor. Actually, Draco should knock out Crydon either way. That Flame Charge does mean Crydon's faster than me now, so I have to be careful about that. Even under Tailwind, but I don't mind because you are not that threatening. Cool. Yeah, so I think here we can go Sacred Fire, Terra, Flare Blitz into Rillaboom. And there should be Assault Vest Rillaboom, so we're going to knock out onto it or the Ice Rider should it switch in. They're not switching. Cool. But I think this game highlights the beauty of this Ho-Oh set, right? Like, look how disruptive it was with Sacred Fire. Did so much damage to Ice Rider, so much damage to Landorus, took advantage of my opponent's Sun, set up Tailwind for us as well, and continue to heal with Life Dew throughout the course of the game. And they will stay asleep. Cool. Sacred Fire does not miss here. It's not one-shot Rillaboom, but actually manages to get the burn. Flare Blitz was to cover anyway, though, to guarantee the knockout. I could have gone Fake Out Sacred Fire there, but a couple downsides there. I'm not actually sure that gets the knockout. As you saw, they had like 15 or 10 to 15%, and I don't think Fake Out actually does enough there to get the KO. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing here is Sacred Fire could miss as well, right? So Flare Blitz would cover for it. But yeah, we are likely going to consume almost all the PP on Sacred Fire in this game, which is also kind of wild to think about. And now they have no Sun to use, which should put us in a very commanding spot. Cool. No more Tailwind. That's okay. They're going to low kick into Incin, but we're Terra'd here. They should protect with this, I think. Yeah, they definitely should protect. I am happy, though, to still launch Sacred Fire into this slot and then knock off into Koraidon to get rid of Clear Amulet. Because then, once I get rid of Clear Amulet, it means I can pivot Incin out and in. But they're just going to low kick, not protect. And you see, yeah, I just don't take any damage now that the Sun is gone. Sacred Fire KOs. Beautiful. I think them, yeah, getting put to sleep meant that I felt like I could just run away with the game because Koraidon's so important from an offensive perspective. But I figured once I stalled out the Sun, like the Water Terra on Incin was generally pretty safe. They could have targeted us with like a Grassy Glide that turn, but I figured the chances of that were probably pretty slim. And you can see we've almost used all of our Sacred Fire PP in this game. But now we can go for a Life Dew and a U-turn. Yeah. They end up forfeiting. Cool. I think them not bringing the Incineroar made the game easier. It's tempting to bring Landorus in this matchup because obviously it's quite good into Miraidon, but I don't mind Landorus because it's like means that Ho-Oh's so much better protected. If you bring Incineroar, my Sacred Fires do substantially less damage, and you can actually cycle the combination of like Incin plus Rilla plus Koraidon to deal with it. Without the Incineroar, it meant that like they had one piece that was just to hit KO'd by Sacred Fire, and without me getting intimidated, the Sacred Fires were just doing so much damage, right? Like Ho-Oh basically knocked out the Landorus, did so much damage to Ice Rider, and ended up finishing it off as well. Did 90% to Rillaboom as well, right? So Incin, I think, can be a big nuisance for this Ho-Oh because then it means that the damage needs to come from the partner Pokemon. That is why I had Miraidon in this one as well. But yeah, we were able to just run away with the game, which felt really good with Ho-Oh. Whoa. Okay. Sableye, Darkrai, Hisuian, Zoroark, Miraidon, Urshifu, Tornadus. Love going up against some Pokemon here that we don't get to see very often in Darkrai. I did get to feature Darkrai in this regulation, so if you want to see me use that, check out the video link down below. Miraidon obviously is going to be very important in dealing with Darkrai. Ting Lu is going to be absolutely essential in dealing with their team in general, I think. So I think it's like Ho-Oh, Miraidon, Ting-Lu +1. Honestly, could be a Moongus. I guess Assault Vest Incineroar is not bad here either. Mainly just aware of the fact that they could be Rain Dance Tornadus with Urshifu. What do I want to lead with here? Yeah, I do think Torn Ursh spooks me out a little bit. Maybe I want to go something like Ho-Oh, Miraidon, Ting-Lu, plus... Like, I think Amoonguss to actually have us switch it into Surging Strikes is a pretty big deal. Because otherwise, I think if you get Rain Dance up... Or even without Rain Dance, like Urshifu with Surging is just pretty threatening here. Maybe Darkrai Sableye. Of course, could be Hisuian Zoroark. One of the things to note is Ho-Oh is not grounded, so it's not affected by Electric Terrain, meaning you can actually still put it to sleep. I could just double protect here on turn 1. There could be a fake out coming our way. I don't want to Terra this just to get, like, prevent sleep turn 1. Like, we'll probably Terra in this game anyway, but I feel like we can hold on to it for at least a turn. I am down to go for... I don't think I need a Tailwind here. Sacred Fire into Sableye and Volt Switch. Okay, Terra commit. That's fine. Darkrai into ground? Whoa. Stellar. Okay, I wonder if it's just gravity into something like Blizzard. Nope, it's going to be a light screen. Okay. Oh, if it's Stellar Darkrai, it's probably actually Zoroark, right? That's my guess. It still does so much damage. And it's actually Eject Button Sableye. Super cool. Okay. The light screen obviously helps some there. Without it, we would have gotten a knockout. I'm assuming Zoroark is just going to go for a Hyper Voice here. I mean, it could still be Darkrai, I guess. Hyper Beam. Oh my goodness. And it's normal gem. And by the way, yeah, we don't get to pivot out there, unfortunately, because of the eject button. So that's a really cool interaction. Super neat. Not great for us, but I do get a free switch into Ting-Lu this next turn, and I think Ting-Lu's really good in this matchup. Setting up Tailwind probably would have been better for me here, but normal gem Hyper Beam from Stellar Hisuian Zoroark. Big surprise. Cool. Doesn't feel great to lose my restricted like that. Like, if I was actually able to get the Volt Switch out, I would have been able to bring Ting-Lu in or Amoonguss, both which would have been really good there. But I think Ho-Oh plus Ting-Lu is still really good into my opponent's team, so I feel fine about this position. Okay. I think this turn, I am okay going for just Protect here with Ho-Oh and getting an Earthquake off with Ting-Lu. Even if you double up onto the Ting-Lu, I don't think it's getting knocked out here. Looks like they're not protecting, which is good. Could just be a Draco Meteor into us. Beautiful, Volt Switch. Okay. I mean, if we eliminate Miraidon, Ho-Oh, I think, just can wall my opponent's team really effectively. So, and Darkrai obviously needs to take the turn to recharge here. Or I should say Hisuian Zoroark. Really cool as a way to deal with the Miraidon, though. As Earthquake one-shots Darkrai. Okay, yeah, I was going to say that was a crit. I wouldn't have minded that actually out on the field, mainly because I actually don't think it poses a super big offensive threat, right? Like, yeah, you have Hyper Beam, but with the Ting-Lu out on the field, you actually don't do a ton of damage. But the burn on Miraidon was definitely lucky because it gave us the little bit of chip that we needed to get the knockout. I was pretty sure Earthquake would get the knockout. I think in a world in which I didn't get the burn, I would go for Stomping Tantrum instead to guarantee it, just because Miraidon's such a big threat to Ho-Oh. So now they're down Terra, right? And they are down 90% on Sableye. And I don't think Darkrai can deal with Sableye, or sorry, with Ting-Lu that effectively, honestly. Like, I think here I'm okay just switching into Amoonguss. Still 3 turns of Electric Terrain. Like, Darkrai just doesn't do much damage. I feel like Ting-Lu should win the game for us. And that's why I was so scared of Urshifu in this matchup and why I wanted Amoonguss to protect the Ting-Lu. But I think, like, I can switch in Ting-Lu right now. Or, sorry, switch in Amoonguss. And honestly just go for a Stomping Tantrum into Sableye. I'm holding on to my Terra just because I want to see what other moves these Pokemon have. Fairy Terra, by the way, like would ground us so that I'm not affected. And oh, it's actually Encore here. So they're trying to Encore into Ho-Oh and just a Dark Pulse. Cool. Yeah, and you see Ting Lu here makes Darkrai's damage output so poor. So Encore, Light Screen, presumably I would think Reflect plus Gravity. Like Gravity just combos so nicely with Darkrai, but it's interesting seeing Darkrai and Miraidon. Like maybe this is an offensive set, but honestly I think we just Pollen Puff here and Ruination. Another Dark Pulse, and yeah, we just have way too much bulk to deal with. This is one of the fundamental flaws of Darkrai in the format. Like, I think it just doesn't do enough damage, unfortunately, and is also not exactly the tankiest Pokemon. Although it took that Pollen Puff decently well. I almost wonder if it's Assault Vest. Either way, we can just Pollen Puff and Stomping Tantrum here. And I like Dark Pulse is potentially not even a 4-hit knockout on Tolmungus, which speaks to Ting Lu's ability to wall. So this game was all about Ting Lu, in my opinion. It was definitely the MVP, and even though they got us with that really cool Stellar normal gem Hyper Beam, you just lost a lot of momentum, right? And if you look at my opponent's team, like the only real damage dealer to Ting Lu, I think, was Miraidon, which can Draco Meteor, but without getting a Draco off there, the Ting Lu can just absolutely wall and sweep this game. Ooh, this is heat. Okay, I mean, it's giving Perish Song for sure. Arceus Gothitelle, Arceus with Perish Song, Annihilate with Final Gambit, Shadow Rider, Water Upon Tornadus. If we're up against Perish, I think Instant Miraidon need to come out here for pivoting. I don't have a Ghost Terra, which concerns me. Like, I think Perish is actually quite powerful into us because this team aims to win over a long course of time, not quickly. And so if you Perish and trap me in, I'm normally in really bad shape. I think Miraidon plus Urshifu is probably going to be pretty key. Also, if you hear a beeping, that is my dishwasher, indicating that it is completed. So do not be alarmed. I think Instant Miraidon have to come out here. Instant Miraidon Amoonguss. I just think there's no way I get away with Urshifu here, right? If I'm my opponent, I'm probably going Water Pawn. Shadow Rider plus Gothitelle could be spooky. Oh, Miraidon Amoonguss Instant. I'm bringing Amoonguss here because I think if you get a Spore off in the matchup, then it's a big deal, but it's easier said than done. Ting Lu, I don't know. It's like, it doesn't actually have a Dark-type attack. It's actually Calyrex and Annihilate. Okay, super offensive. You could just obviously Final Gambit here. And Astral Barrage. Gambit Nasty Plot would be a crazy cool play. I think we need Miraidon's offense here. Like, I'm leaning towards Protect and switching Amoonguss here, which I don't hate. If you Final Gambit and get rid of Annihilate, Incineroar suddenly becomes that much more valuable, which is good. The thing is, I can't Spore right now because Electric Train is up, so I also have to be patient about that. Okay, cool. That works. And they just Astral. I think I'm fine with this because now I can just Rage Powder this next turn. Your Scarf. They could Grass Terra just to get the KO. I don't know if that's really worth it for them. So now I can... Do I want a Tailwind or Sacred Fire? I actually like Sacred Fire more right now, I think. Because I have Incineroar in the back. So... Rage Powder Sacred. They probably switch Annihilate out here. That's what I would do. Or you could Grass Terra it. I mean, if you had Grass Terra Ape, you could go Grass Terra, Final Gambit, and Psychic into Amoonguss. Which would be pretty sick. You should run Grass Terra on Scarf Ape, so let's see if they just send it. That would be really cool. Nope, they switch. Okay. To Arceus. Rage Powder. Yep, nice play. Nice play by them. We take not a lot of damage there, which is pretty awesome. Take a huge Sacred Fire off in return. No burn, unfortunately, but that's okay. Threat of Perish is very much alive right now. I would like to Tailwind here. Switch into Incineroar. The thing is, they could switch in Annihilate right now, but they don't. Okay, nice. So that's good. This is what I meant by stalling all my own electric terrain, right? Like, we'll burn a couple turns and eventually get Amoonguss out to a point, and they protect perfect. Get to Tailwind here. Just Judgment, that's fine. Yeah, that does nothing. Beautiful. Okay, not bad. The question I have really now is, what is their final Pokemon? Nothing can take a Sacred Fire right now, which is a pretty huge deal. This is going to be slower than Shadow Rider still, so I think we should launch Sacred Fire here. I don't mind Sacred Fire plus knockoff into Shadow Rider here. It covers for any switch that they could go into. And like, Arceus just revealed Judgment. It's not that strong, right? I think their play here, honestly, would be to Perish Song with Arceus switch into Gothitelle. Or sorry, sacrifice Shadow Rider, switch into Gothitelle. But with U-turn on the Incineroar, it can always pivot out, which is good. What I would love to do is knock out, like, Scarf Annihilate, if it takes any damage, just is not very good in this endgame. They are going to pivot Calyrex out, but I'm okay with this, right? Like, whatever's coming in is eating this double up. It's going to be the Annihilate, okay. Let's see if they protect. They don't, that's fine. Good damage here. And a burn, nice. I mean, I can honestly even ignore Annihilate now. Knock off. Cool. There's your Scarf. And just another Judgment. That's fine. Cool. Okay, that was great. I think it's time we get some healing up with Life Dew as well. And what is this going to do at this point? Close combat me? That's fine, right? 2 turns of Tailwind. I think I definitely want a Life Dew here. Do I? Like, I'm thinking it might be better to get the knockout onto this. Oh, but I got rid of your Choice Scarf, so it's actually fine to just Life Dew here. And actually, I'm not sure U-turn gets that knockout. I'll go for a knockoff, which covers for switches. Cool. Let's get some nice healing up here. Knockout there. I just did not want them to get any damage onto Incineroar because it's like, I think Incin is so good into Shadow Rider plus potentially Gothitelle. It's another Judgment here, 136 down to 75. Yep, not bad. I love how Ho like tilts its head like, you mad, bro? No more terrain, so now Spore is on the table as well. Shadow Rider you would think would come out and it would just protect on its last turn. But I can Life Dew, U-turn out. The big question is, what is your final one? I think so far the game has played out pretty well. The main thing was to not lose a big Pokemon from Final Gambit immediately. I was willing to trade a Amoonguss for it, which is why I wanted to bring it in, but yeah. I think Urshifu, by the way, if I had it, would have ended up being pretty good in this one, because I would have been able to U-turn out last turn into Annihilate, get Urshifu out, and then threaten close combat in the last turn of Tailwind, meaning that you can't protect in front of it. It is going to be Ogerpon. Okay, cool. That makes a lot of sense to me. I'm fine with that. Water Terra here. Could save my Electric Terra for this. I don't think we need to Terra this. Could Terra this. But I like Terraing this, I think, the most. I mean, I honestly don't hate double switching here, truthfully. Yeah, that actually feels okay to me. We'll just use Amoonguss for redirection support instead. Or potentially get a Pollen Puff off with it if we can. I think here, like, I could Terra, but I'm already kind of low, and, like, Ivy Cudgel could crit me as well, and that doesn't feel great. And then I also want to pivot out Instant to get it Intimidate. If you're my opponent, you could protect both of your Pokemon right now to stall out the last turn of Tailwind, and then I don't want to be stuck on the field with Incineroar afterwards, right? So this play allows me to just get my, like, super offensive option in Miraidon out immediately. But they're going to commit Terra, okay. I mean, Water Terra Ogerpon makes sense here, but if you went for that, nice. Yeah, now Miraidon's like, hey, thank you. So, this is looking good. If we eliminate Ogerpon, by the way, that should open the door for Incineroar to beat the Shadow Rider in the endgame. Nice play to not protect either, though. I like that a lot. And they actually cudgel into what was not the Ho-Oh slot, but the Instant slot. That makes sense. Okay, yeah, they split their damage that way. But we end up surviving. Clutch. Nolan Peters out. I think I'm leaning towards Pollen Puffing Miraidon here. Electric Terra, Drift into Arceus. Yeah. I don't know if... I went for the Terra because I figured I'd get an Oko with this. And I figure Ogerpon also probably wants the Spiky Shield. If you follow me, that's fine. Nice. There's the Spiky Shield. Ideally, we just one-shot Arceus, and then I heal back up as well. No extreme speed, but yeah, this should be like a Perish Song set, right? So, there's Drift. Let's see if this one-shots. Ooh, Arceus does survive. I'm actually okay with it surviving here, though, honestly. Just Dazzling Gleam, that's fine. Cool. Yeah, the reason I'm okay with it surviving is because you don't get a free switch it into Shadow Rider. So it's leftovers, Dazzling Gleam. I mean, it surely has Perish Song as the final one, right? But now I can bring out the Incineroar. I'm like thinking Ho-Oh instead, actually. Yeah, I think Ho-Oh's fine, because I just... Well, they should Judgment, I suppose. If I brought Instant out, I would just fake out, but then they would just protect, right? This could actually switch out right now. But I could also Volt Switch, which I like. Tailwind here and Volt Switch. Because if I were my opponent, I think I would actually switch Ogerpon out, knowing that that's the last means of offense available. Switch Ogerpon out, and then Judgment into Miraidon. Could always go for a double protect, I suppose. Which would scare me a little bit. I guess my other concern if it's like... Yeah, they do actually go for the double, but they don't get it. Okay, cool. I was mainly thinking, like, can Ogerpon survive this? Because it does have a plus special defense boost. Yeah, okay. It gets the KO. Nice. Then I feel good about that play. Because if it survives, it's like probably not worth risking. This should just win us the game immediately, because now I've set up Tailwind and I've gotten Instant out into Shadow Rider. But yeah, it was a clutch survival on Arceus's end. This is exactly why I didn't bring Urshifu, basically, because I think Urshifu is very good into these teams, right? If you're Perish Song, you normally want to protect. And so the idea is, hey, if I bring the Water Ogerpon, Urshifu normally has a really tough time. And I think all of our Pokemon were actually super pivotal in this game. Like, Amoonguss was valuable, even though we did not end up, like, redirecting the final Gambit away. Having it to threaten that redirection was a really big deal. So now we can just Sacred Fire knock off. But yeah, I think this game highlights how Arceus isn't really... Like, this set, it just clicked Judgment and Dazzling Gleam a couple of times, right? It's never threatening with that much damage, which is kind of the big deal here. So I did just set up Tailwind. I mean, they're probably going to protect here, which is why I'm down to life do. Okay, yeah. You're just not... I think Incin, you could literally get rid of all of our Pokemon and just have Incineroar there. Could probably just win the 1v2 with Flare Blitz and knockoff anyway. Which is why I was, like, willing to go for Life Dew, because I was like, their only way of winning is probably to stall out the Tailwind, right? And with Life Dew, it just ensures Incin is never fainting in that position. So, yeah. Ooh, Koraidon Groudon, double Sun here, okay. And it's funny because Lilligant plus Torkoal is actually one of the best, like, cores in Reg H right now, having just dominated regionals. I say dominated, I mean, it ended up, like, finishing top 4 in Las Vegas, which, by the way, I got to commentate, which was really fun. Definitely one of the most fun events I've commentated in a really long time. But that team has, like, you know, in Reg H has Farigiraf and Hisuian Typhlosion, so fun to go up against, you know, a dual restricted version of it. I say fun, maybe it's not so fun. Lilligant, I'm gonna need Miraidon's Terrain. I think there's a chance we end up just Fairy Tearing Ho-Oh to ground us so that I don't get Sleep Powdered. Water Terramungus actually normally is pretty good into Koraidon comps. They can only have one clear amulet here though, right? So I feel like I should be bringing Incin. Like Incin, Ho-Oh, Miraidon +1. I think I'm okay going Ho-Oh, Incin, Miraidon. For my last trick. Amoonguss? Wait, also, it's not double Sun, it's triple Sun. Okay, I know Amoonguss in a Sun matchup seems crazy, but with Water Terra, you go from very bad to very good. It's kind of like the matchup we had against Kyogre, where I Water Terra'd Incin and suddenly Incin was really good. Amoonguss plus Koraidon. Okay. I mainly just, I'm guessing it's Clear Amulet Koraidon, Ghost Terra on... Ooh, no Clear Amulet. That's huge. That is absolutely huge. Okay. Just curious if they rip Ghost Terra here on turn 1, because I could just fake out Sacred Fire this. Which does not feel bad here. The counterplay if they Ghost Terra would be like switch this out into Miraidon. Fairy Terra Tailwind. Is that crazy? I just think Ghost Terra comes out here so often. But I think it's fine even if they do. Alright. Show me let you have it. Yeah. I mean, it could still be Terra Koraidon, actually. Let's see. Okay. Nice. Sweet. That works. That works. Oh, watch this be Cobra Cloak. What? Covert Cloak, which makes a lot of sense, and then Coaching, which is less common, and then Drain Punch, which is really cool. Okay. Bolt comes out. Well, everything is Draco Bait now for Miraidon, so that part's good. I think I can go Fairy Terra here, Tailwind. Switch out into Amoonguss. Maybe that's a bad switch. I think in retrospect, actually, we should just sacrifice Incin and U-turn there. Yeah, I don't know if I love that switch, but that's what it is. Like, if you Flare Blitz, you actually end up taking a lot of recoil, but it could be Flame Charge or some other fire type attack, given that this is a interesting set. I mean, they just thought it would be nice to, like, intimidate, but... Oh, nice. It's Breaking Swipe. Okay, that works out perfectly. Good switch. Yep. Breaking Swipe, Drain Punch. Probably a Flare Blitz or Flame Charge +1. Ah! Very cool. Life Orb with the... Oh, wow. Okay. Weather Ball. They've really brought out the text in this one. Sick. Bring Miraidon in. So obviously I have Life Orb Draco into either slot right now. I think it's probably best to switch in Instant and Protect right now. Ideally, we bait out a Protect from one slot. The other part of me just wants to attack here. Yeah, I'm thinking about just committing to it. I'm just a little bit worried that I am going to lose the damage trade-off here because I lost Amoonguss. Like, I knew I was at risk of getting knocked out there, but by Weather Ball? Yeah, not that. Okay, yeah, neither protected, which makes sense. We get the knockout. Part of the reason I went for this was because I figured Raging Bolt could one-shot me, but Koraidon wouldn't be able to one-shot me, since now they're back to neutral. Yeah, that actually did like nothing. Cool. Sweet. Groudon comes in now, I assume? Yep. So I think what we can do here is fake out you. Still 2 turns of Tailwind left. I don't necessarily need a fake out. We hit 164. I don't think we outspeed this, right? Basically, I'm thinking I could get a knockoff here. But I think... Fairy Terra Ho actually punishes me a little bit here. Yeah, I'm going to fake out into... I actually want to fake out Groudon here. Switch into Ho-Oh. Mainly because I don't want Precipice Blades. And, like, I could see them just Drain Punching or Breaking Swiping here, and either is fine. Groudon's faster than Koraidon, huh? Could it be Choice Scarf Groudon? Could that be the case? Last turn of Sun. So normally when I see Groudon, I assume it's Assault Vest. It's just the fact it's faster than this is really throwing me off. I don't want to protect and have this be Scarf Groudon. If Groudon normally just moved first, I would have just protected here, but this hasn't protected once. But also a Drain Punch or Breaking Swipe might not even knock me out. So maybe I still just double up on a Groudon here. I just think the Groudon moving first is... Oh, missed. Yep, I was right. It was Scarfed. We lose off a miss, but you're going to miss a little bit with this team with Draco. I mean, I think that play would have won me the game because it should one-shot Choice Scarf Groudon. Double miss? Oh, I don't feel bad. I think I made the right play there, and sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. Yeah, Draco would have one-shot Groudon, I think. And even at -2, like Ho-Oh plus Miraidon should beat the Koraidon. So that sucks, but... There's always ways to figure out how I could have played better in this game. I'm glad my intuition there was right, though. It was Scarf Groudon. So Draco there. I mean, maybe Groudon survives the Life Orb Draco Meteor. I wouldn't expect it to with Choice Scarf. They could still theoretically miss all of their attacks. This game isn't 100% over yet, so I'll play it out for like 2 or 3 more turns. But yeah, I think, I don't know, you could maybe debate whether or not the Amoonguss should have switched in and whether or not I should have clicked Fake Out. But... Oh, the Koraidon also didn't have Protect. Okay. It was Flame Charge and Flare Blitz, Breaking Swipe, Drain Punch. So I could have Electro Drifted and then actually played the Groudon versus Ho-Oh 1v1, in which I'd actually probably win that, but I don't think I'm willing to make that play without having seen this final thing's attack and knowing like Groudon was outspeeding Koraidon. So yeah, I think like I don't regret how I played that one still. I think the main question is, should I switch to Amoonguss? But like they had so many surprises here, right? It was like Covert Cloak plus Coaching, Drain Punch, 4 attack on the Koraidon. I also wonder if it's Assault Vest. We never saw its item. AV would make a lot of sense to me here. Choice Scarf Groudon. But yeah, I think we weathered the storm of all the surprises. Oh yeah, Weather Ball on the Raging Bolt as well. Maybe I did. No, I feel like I do need to Terra Ho-Oh in front of that. So yeah. But this is one of the games where it's like I think we got it to a winning position, and sometimes you're just gonna miss those moves, and that's okay. I don't think Ting Lu would have changed much in this matchup. I think it would have been detrimental. I don't think Urshifu would have changed much for us either. Right. This is one of those where it's like I think every little trick from them in Best of One definitely gave them a big advantage, and that's the strength of having these unique things in Best of One, right? Because imagine if I go fake out Koraidon turn 1 and just Sacred Fire into the Lilligant. Normally Lilligant has Focus Sash. With them having Covert Cloak, like they get a free attack off. If I went fake out Sacred Fire, you get a coaching boost, but then you don't do any damage, right? And then turn 2, I can just make the same pivot play that I did Terra and then go from there. So I think Miraidon was really good here, but unfortunately only got 1 move off, and yeah, missing against Groudon will do that. And I think because they had Flame Charge and Flare Blitz, we were probably losing against the Koraidon in the long run. Like we needed to one-shot Groudon there, so I would actually get damage into the Miraidon. Or sorry, into Koraidon with Miraidon. Imagine if we one-shot Groudon there. They ended up going for Flame Charge there. So you get a speed boost, but you don't get a knockout onto either. And then I could go Protect Tailwind the following turn to reset up Tailwind, and then Draco Meteor, Electro... I'd probably click Electro Drift, actually. Electro Drift Life Dew, heal back up. And then, like, I think if we get a bunch of damage onto the Koraidon, then Ho-Oh can win the 1v1 between Life Dew plus Leftovers, and then they're taking recoil from Flare Blitz as well. But we needed Groudon gone for that, and unfortunately, we ended up missing. But that is the, risk you use when you use Miraidon. It's such a good Pokemon, but Draco, 90% accurate. Oh boy, Kyogre, Zacian, but we have Mousehold and Sableye and Whimsicott. Those all in Best of One scare me a ton. That's spooky. I feel like it's going to be Instant Amoonguss, Miraidon. I mean, is this crazy? Like, I don't know if I want to bring Ho-Oh. It's just so bad into Kyogre. And in Rain, like, Sacred Fire doesn't really do anything. It's mainly valuable to set up Tailwind, but, like, I actually think this might be Instant Amoonguss, Urshifu, Miraidon. I also think there's a chance this is just, like, Water, Terra, Choice Scarf, or Choice Specs, Kyogre. I don't like this. I think I'm gonna drop Ho-Oh here. I don't know. It just does not feel very good. Like I think I'm gonna go Incin, Miraidon, Amoonguss, Urshifu, and if I Water Terra Incin, I have 4 water resistances. Because the thing about Ho-Oh on this team is it wants to stay on the field for forever. It wants to keep clicking Sacred Fire, but like in this case, I don't think I'm gonna really get much mileage out of Sacred Fire when the rain is up, right? Okay. So my plan here was protect Miraidon, Water Terra, Incin, knock off Kyogre to get rid of its item and deal damage into it. And then turn 2, I could pivot Miraidon out into Amoonguss. It's not Scarf Ogre, so Specs Ogre would make some sense here. I mean, obviously, I could also just like fake out Volt Switch here on turn 1. I do think this could be Ghost Terra. It's like Ghost Terra is really common on these kind of hyper offense teams, so yeah, I think I'm down to go Water Terra, knock off, protect turn 1. My dream would be that they Ghost Terra, but they don't. If they're not going for that, I'm guessing Kyogre just protects here, which then would not feel great. If you have protect though, so be it. Like I'm generally not making a play that's going to cover for that on turn 1. Just double protect. Okay. I mean, that's fine, because if you have Protect with Kyogre, it means you're not choiced, which I think is actually good information in itself. I could see them encoring here, so I'm going to hard switch into Amoonguss and knock off. I just think with these teams, especially in best of one, I see Kyogre and I just immediately assume it's choiced. Because the choice is such a good item. I'm actually curious what the item is. It's not choice Assault Vest. Like, it's probably something like Mystic Water. Could even be Life Orb. But yeah, it's like I don't think Ho-Oh really would have done much for us here, right? I would have felt... like, if I'm bringing Ho-Oh, I have to Terra, and that doesn't feel great either. Because, like, Water Terra is so valuable here on Incin. Okay, they just offered for Tailwind. Kind of surprised there, because I don't think they were ever one-shotting us here. The Yache Berry comes up, though, which is kind of funny. Okay, so we take that quite nicely. What item did you have? Mystic Water, yeah. So Incin should be in a very good spot. I can U-turn to break Sash here and then protect this turn. I'm just surprised they went Tailwind Ice Beam there, because Ice Beam was not going to one-shot us, so if I just went Volt Switch there... I mean, maybe I should have anyway, right? Yeah, in retrospect, I don't know. I think it's probably better to just have gone for the Volt Switch into Kyogre there. Because we knew that... I just was mainly worried that they would have, like, a defensive Terra. Cool, they double up into us. That's good. That? I was going to say, that did so much damage. Wow. I have to go Miraidon here, right? If I bring in Urshifu, they just Moonblast plus Water Spout. Yep. Probably Moonblast Ice Beam double up into Miraidon right now. We haven't seen Encore. Protect, Tailwind, Moonblast. Could be Fake Tears or Endeavor. Just felt like if they had Encore... Oh, that was the other option. Reason I switched out, right? Yeah. Never mind. That was a logical play. I think... I'm leaning towards Protect, switch into Incin. That way I get Regenerator, stalled another turn of Tailwind, and then pressure KO next turn. It's so funny that Assault Vest, Water Terror, Incineroar is the counter to Kyogre here, but yeah. By the way, I think Ho-Oh makes sense if I get rid of Kyogre here. Like, if I had Ho-Oh in the back, it would make sense over Urshifu, and they actually commit the Terra here. Whoa, okay. Interesting. Water Terra? Cool. That's what I was trying to bait out this whole time. I'm just shocked they didn't go for it the turn they Tailwinded. I felt like it was relatively safe. It is Endeavor, yeah. I had a feeling. And Origin Pulse, cool. Although, I feel like if you're committing to this, you should Ice Beam instead, personally. They can Endeavor us here now. It could just be a double Protect. I want to Flare Blitz Whimsicott. I think they should just double Protect here. I'm going to switch into a Moongus, though, and Flare Blitz. Yeah, the fact they have Protect makes me think it's Focus Sash, and the fact they have Endeavor makes me think it should definitely be Focus Sash. So if I were them, I would just protect both Pokemon here, but then I get a Moongus in for free, and then can, like, Flare Blitz Pollen Puff. And you can only get one of Spore or Endeavor off. But I'm a little bit... Like, I would have preferred to have knocked out Whimsicott and prevent them from setting up a second Tailwind. But they actually switch out. Okay. Zacian. Works for me. Dream would be Whimsicott not protecting here, and I just KO it, but might be wishful thinking. Yeah. Yep, that's generally a really safe play. The only way I could have punished this would have been like Volt Switch Flare Blitz into the Zacian slot, but that seems kind of nuts to go for. No more Rain, no more Tailwind, and crucially, no more Electric Terrain. So, Spore is now on the table. I'm down a Spore here. If you're my opponent, you could Endeavor double up into a Moongus. That's actually probably a pretty good play, but I could see Endeavor going into, like, I could see them doubling up into the instant slot as well, which is why I wanted to make sure I went for this play. Oh, the Behemoth Blade, but they're faster with the Zacian, so yeah, this doesn't work. When you have Endeavor Whims, you generally want to train your Pokemon to be slower than it, so that you get the Endeavor off first, but I'm assuming they're just max speed on both, and Zacian's faster, so that is going to punish them a good bit. It's like one of those weird things, right, where it's like, oh, like, in order to be slower than Whimsicott, you actually give up a good amount. Like, it's so important for Zacian to be, like, in that, in the speed tier that it is, and for it to be, like, max speed in it, and so they end up getting punished fairly heavily for that now, which is quite nice for us. Probably just another Origin Pulse coming out. I'm down to switch in Miraidon right now. And then you turn into Kyogre. Like, with this Team Regenerator is such a big deal. I'm just trying to get as much healing as I can. But yeah, I think that last turn was huge. If we get a 2-turn or 3-turn sweep, I feel very good about our chances of winning this. I think even 1 turn is maybe okay. But yeah, we got a Moongus out in the perfect time. And once we figured out Whimsicott's set, knowing that it can't taunt us or Encore us, meant that they had to deal with the pressure, which is nice. Zacian stays asleep for its first turn, obviously. They end up Ice Beaming into Instant, expecting probably the Miraidon to pivot there. Okay. Beautiful. We get U-turn off. This is fantastic. Should be in a really good spot now, I think. I think it's safer to bring out a Moongus here because we still want to cover for Play Rough. But I think if we get the Intimidate off into this, that's fine. So I'm down to just Electro Drift, switch in Instant right now. This is what I was saying. If you get a 2 or 3 turn sleep, I think we just one-shot you with Drift. We win the game off that. So I'm willing to take those odds. Like, even if they wake up, it's still okay. But if they stay asleep, should be okay. But yeah, I definitely feel good about my decision to drop Ho-Oh in this one, I think. They do manage to wake up, okay. And they get the Protect off, but it's still fine, because now I can fake out Drift that slot next turn. Maybe it would have been fine to just switch an Instant and try to KO Kyogre with the Drift there. But they end up Ice Beaming the Amoonguss slot, so this Assault Vest Incineroar has taken so many attacks. Oh, so nice. Urshifu is probably their last one, right? I'm going to Volt Switch here and fake out, I think. They probably stay in with this, right? But then we get a Amoonguss in. Yeah, I'm down to fake out Volt Switch. Okay, no Protect. Almost one-shots there, not bad. I think we can go out into Urshifu finally, because now I can just Aqua Jet into that slot, and you turn into Kyogre again. This poor Kyogre has launched so many Ice Beams. They haven't gotten a single freeze, which is lucky, but Aqua Jet, you turn now. You have no Mystic Water either, so your Origin Pulse should not KO us. But yeah, you can see why I didn't want to bring Ho-Oh here, right? It's like, if the rain is up and I don't have Brave Bird, I don't know. I mean, Sacred Fire theoretically would be super effective into both of these. So it's not bad, but like, it just doesn't feel great. I feel much better having the Incinemungus Urshifu core. So it's a good example of when you can drop a restricted Pokemon. Yep, they make the switch. You kind of have to, but I'm down to force you to make that switch and see what your final Pokemon is. It's going to be their own Urshifu. Yep. And they don't protect with the Kyogre, which is huge. Yeah, because this should not knock out my Urshifu. Perfect. Now I get U-turn off. KO your Kyogre. Perfect. And then I get a Moongus back in. And then with a Moongus out, I can just Rage Powder. You already committed Grass Terra. I guess, unless you're randomly Safety Goggles on Urshifu. Amoonguss in, Rage Powder, Aqua Jet should win the game. But yeah, the poor Kyogre just kept launching Ice Beams. I'm glad to have showcased the Yache Berry, like, actually putting in work for us in this one, though. And yeah, removing the Mystic Water was actually a big deal because it meant Urshifu could survive this endgame. So we can just Aqua Jet now. And we're just Rage Powdering here to make sure that Urshifu, Aqua Jet, like, they don't win a Speed Tiger crit us, right? So they end up forfeiting, but yeah, I think we had pretty good control of that throughout. Couple of scary points, I thought, but the fact that I was able to like switch in so freely and not get punished made things extra good for us. Arceus, Zacian, Tornadus, Landorus, Amoonguss, Rillaboom. We all gotta enjoy these last few weeks of mythical Pokemon in VGC because it's probably gonna be a very long time till the next time we see them. But I had a lot of fun playing and trying out Arceus in particular, and I feel like it's one of the most flexible Pokemon in this regulation, which is really neat. I think let's Water Arceus. We'll probably want to, like, stagger Tailwinds, like, knock out Tornadus and then set up Tailwind. I don't think Tinglu's really that great here. Ho-Oh, Urshifu, Miraidon, plus Incineroar feels solid. I'm actually down to just lead Ho-Oh, Urshifu, I think. Miraidon, Incin. Incineroar is a really good switch into Zacian. Right? It's like one of the things that keeps Zacian in check. Otherwise, Zacian would be a lot scarier. It's also one of the reasons why Zacian like has not thrived as much in Scarlet and Violet VGC. It still had some decent performances, right? Like top 4 at regionals, day 2 at Worlds, but it's not nearly the beast that it was back in Sword and Shield. General logic here is they have Tailwind and they have fast Pokemon. So what we want to do is, even if we like match their Tailwind, we don't really accomplish very much. What's better is making sure we have Tailwind up when they don't have Tailwind up. So sometimes what you can do is kind of like bait them into setting up Tailwind and not even bother, wait out a couple turns, and then set up your own Tailwind. But Arceus is really the wild card here. Tornadus, Zacian. Okay, that works for me. I think we can probably just pivot out into Incineroar right now and then actually Sacred Fire Tornadus turn 1. Because you would think Zacian's going to want to protect here, or Terra. And like I said, I want to get rid of the Tailwind user from their end so then I can stagger my Tailwind. Even if they end up like Sacred Sword, Bleak Windstorm here, it's not the end of the world. But I think you definitely have to respect the Fire-type damage from Ho-Oh. So I would expect Zacian to either commit to a Protector Terra. And then Incineroar being able to switch in and just intimidate it immediately is always fantastic. I think Miraidon would have been okay as a lead here, but then I'm just threatened by Tailwind, like Fairy Terra Play Rough, for example, which is kind of spooky still. They're going to stay in. We'll pivot out. I think it's going to be generally pretty difficult for them to deal with this Ho-Oh, but they obviously have Arceus, and I'm very curious what set it is. Okay, Terra commit immediately, which means you can't Terra Arceus, which should be very good for Miraidon. Fairy Terra, Ground Terra, Water Terra. Okay. I mean, the Water Terra is actually very strong into most of our team, but obviously Miraidon does not mind that too much. And they will click Tailwind, which I'm okay with. This is what I mean, right? Let's stagger our Tailwind. They're going to waste a couple turns of it effectively. So we just play rough into us and we take less than half. Beautiful. Drops our attack. That's fine. The Sacred Fire off and Tornadus does over half. Very nice. No burn, but that is okay. This next turn is interesting because I could see them switching out into Arceus right now. Could see a Sacred Sword going into this slot as well. We definitely want to knock out Tornadus. I'm okay going for Sacred Fire into Torn here, I think. And then just fake out into Zacian. I'm mainly just debating if I want to fake out or go for something else like U-turn instead. But I think I'm okay making sure they don't get to attack this turn. Main question I have is whether or not Tornadus pivots here or just clicks Bleak Windstorm. But the good thing is we should wall Ho-Oh pretty decently, or we should wall Zacian pretty decently with Ho-Oh. Okay, they don't protect or switch, which is good. This is what I was looking for. Now we should be able to set up a late Tailwind. Unless we flinch. Nice, no flinch. Good job, Ho-Oh. Tornadus is now down. I do have Electric Terra on the Miraidon, but I'm leaning towards going... I guess the awkward thing if I Fairy Terra Ho this next turn is I do become weak to Steel-type damage. So I assume they'll bring out Arceus right now. Maybe I hard switch Incineroar out into Urshifu and then bring it back in the next turn. That's what I'm leaning towards right now. Yep, this was indeed water. I just think they could theoretically double up into this, which I don't love. I'm going to protect and switch in Urshifu right now. I just want to see what attack Arceus goes for. Miraidon in the endgame should look really good though right now. So that's what we're building towards. I was going to protect here. Okay, nice play rough into that slot. Zacian outspeeding Arceus, and then it's just Judgment. Okay, works for me. Should be able to now set up a Tailwind. I'm assuming it's physical, but it would suck to get blown up by special Arceus. So I'm thinking maybe I should commit the Terra here. Yeah, I think I should. Since it's the last turn of Tailwind, by committing this Terra, then we have a pretty major speed advantage. So I'll Tailwind here, and then switch back out into Incineroar. And I think, like, Miraidon doesn't really need the Terra here because we have Electro Drift anyway, and they're both water types at this point. So it should just one-shot everything, is what I'm thinking. And honestly just don't know my, like, water judgment counts into Ho-Oh super well, and I just want to respect them. Also potentially doubling up into the slot. I think it's really important we get this Tailwind up right now. Cool, they play rough again. We don't take a ton. There's Judgment. Okay, I definitely did not need to Terra there, but that's fine. We shall get Tailwind up. Cool. Now there, Tailwind peters out crucially. I think here I'm down a life dew and then switch out into Miraidon. If you're my opponent, you probably want to contemplate either attacking into the Ho-Oh slot or just protecting this turn. Once Miraidon hits the field, we just have super, super strong damage. And even though I'm Fairy Terra, it's like their Zacian's at -1 attack right now. So I think even if they attack me here, it'll be okay. Last turn, by the way, one play we could have done was stay in with the Urshifu and just sacrifice it so that they knock me out, and then I get the free switched into Miraidon. But I also just wanted to make, like, cover for, yeah, them doubling up into Ho-Oh, and just wanted to ensure that we got the Tailwind up. So this turn's a little bit awkward because I can't capitalize off my Tailwind immediately, but ideally they, like, protect here, trying to get around Fake Out pressure. The reality is I'm, like, even with Fake Out, it's not like I'm actually pressuring with a ton of damage, which is why I think they actually should attack here, but we finally get Miraidon out on the field. Okay, they don't protect, which is smart. Slight risk of them play roughing into the Miraidon switch in here, but even if they do, I don't think we're getting knocked out here. Actually, going to be Swords Dance. Okay, that makes sense. So Swords Dance, play rough, Behemoth Blade, protect, presumably. And Calm Mind, double setup. Okay, that's neat. Let them cook. That is very neat. Well, we've still got 2 turns of Tailwind left, which is huge. This is Special Arceus. If I were them, I'd probably protect Zacian here. I think I'm still going to Drift into it and Sacred Fire into Arceus. Calm Mind Arceus isn't that scary. Mainly because, like, it depends on what its, like, other coverage moves are, but I don't think you do that much into Miraidon anyway, and even if Zacian protects her, we, like, force it to protect, and then I can just Electro Drift it again next turn. They actually hard switch, which is really smart. I wonder if that's Landorus coming out. It's Rillaboom. Okay, that makes sense. Calm Mind, Water, Arceus. Super neat. I wonder if the Arceus protects. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Fine by me. Shell drift for not a lot of damage, but sometimes a little bit of chip is what we need to put it in Sacred Fire KO range. My guess is now they go for a fake out into the Ho-Oh slot to not faint with Rillaboom. I would like to Sacred Fire into you here and then Volt Switch into you. That was a really nice defensive play. The Swords Dance and Calm Mind was really cool because I felt like I had full control of this game, especially with Miraidon position, but then they were able to mitigate that. What we want to do now is ideally knock out Rillaboom so then Miraidon can just Electro Drift everything, right? But they have fought a very good fight so far. Let's actually fake out into the Miraidon. Okay, that works for me. So we'll get the Sacred Fire off here into Rillaboom. And we actually don't get the knockout thanks to the Grassy Terrain recovery, nor do we get a burn. All right, that makes things interesting. We'll get a Calm Mind off here, but I think this is okay. I'm mainly just a little bit scared about like late game damage into Arceus because we still haven't seen its full moveset. This actually works out pretty well for us though, because now I can go for another Tailwind here and then Volt Switch into the Rillaboom to win the Terrain War. It's just a question of like, do I have enough damage for this Arceus, right? But I think the combination of a close combat plus an Electro Drift, even at like +2, +3 special defense on Arceus, should be enough to get the knockout. But yeah, I'm very curious basically what its like final move is. And Rilla actually makes the hard switch. I like that play a lot from their end to try to continue to have terrain control. Okay. It's fine by me though. Honestly, this might still KO. Almost. Okay. So now we will bring in the... I think we bring in the instant here because we want to conserve the close combat burst damage for Arceus in the end game. Okay, we just go for Judgment here. Does a lot, but it doesn't KO us. And we Tailwind up. Cool. Chunk here. Zacian being faster than the Incineroar Tailwind is a little bit annoying. Like, you would think this would want to protect here. I can switch this out for Regenerator. But I think we do want to conserve both of these. Like, I'm leaning towards knocking out Zacian here with Fake Out and Sacred Fire. They do protect. Let's see if it's a double protect. I think a double protect makes sense. Yeah. What do I want to do the next turn then is the question. The survival from Sacred Fire and Volt Switch is a little bit annoying because it's like as soon as I get one knockout, it accelerates the game so much. So it's a job well done by my opponent to keep both of those around. This turn could have been a Life Dew, which would have been pretty sweet. Lost from a grassy terrain. Yeah, I'm down to Sacred Fire and U-turn Zacian here. Okay, they stay in with both. We're not going to get the knockout there. No burn. Just going to be Behemoth Blade onto us here. Which does not KO us. Clutch bulk by Ho-Oh. And we finish off Zacian with U-turn. Very nice. Okay, that's huge. Should allow us to win the terrain war now. However, I am likely eating up a Judgment in this slot, but I think that's okay because I think we can just pivot in Miraidon right now. Yes, I'll lose the terrain war, but then I'll be able to just Volt Switch out. I just did play this a little bit patiently right now, but... It might feel counterintuitive to bring this out before Rillaboom, but I think Urshifu is actually really important to get a close combat off into the Arceus. So we're going to Judgment us. Yep, and we survive. Perfect. Okay, we heal back up. Obviously, I have to respect Grassy Glide from their end as well, but I think what I can do now is... How do I want to play this out? Okay, one's about to expire. We get a lot of recovery here. This could obviously Grassy Glide us, and this could Judgment us. The most important thing is to get this out and be able to Electro Drift Arceus. So I think we should always protect Miraidon here. I don't mind switching Instant here and then protecting Miraidon for Regenerator on Ho-Oh. I think the main thing is that Calm Mind just makes us have to play this in a much more narrow way because I have to be so careful about what my win con into the Arceus actually is. So it's like, yeah, once again, the Calm Mind Swords Dance turn was really cool for my opponents. And I mean, this game has been going on for quite a long time as well. Tracking at over 15 minutes already at this point, which is nuts. Ideally, Instant survives this turn. Next turn, we can fake out Arceus, Volt Switch into Rilla. Okay, they fake out into the Miraidon slot. Main Curiosity, so they doubled up into that slot. Nice. Okay, that was a huge turn. Even if we lost Instant here, I think it still would have been okay, but I think this should put us in a very commanding position now. Cool. Because now I essentially turned this into a 4v1, right? Fake out into Arceus. Does Volt Switch KO Rillaboom? I'm actually a little bit worried it doesn't. I think it's better to just guarantee the knockout with an Electro Drift here. And because of the way Timer is playing out right now, like with me still having all 4 of my Pokemon, it also very much works against my opponent. I don't think we need the Timer to win this, but it is something that the game could go down to. They are taking a good bit of time to make their moves, so just something to consider. Anyway, yeah, I just don't want a world in which Rillaboom ends up surviving here, like, and we don't get the knockout. Arceus kind of goes for the obvious protect, but that's fine. Just gotta make sure it doesn't get the attack off here this turn. Cool. Yeah, they didn't end up going for Grassy Glide, so maybe hoping to survive an attack, but now we get the Drift off. Nice. And now it's a 4v1 where I will be able to reset the terrain and get a Life Orb Electro Drift in terrain off, which I think is a huge deal. So that should be really good. I think here we Volt Switch. And U-turn. Double pivoting, which is kind of cute. But yeah, like, as soon as I saw the Calm Mind, I was like, we have to play this in a very, very particular way. If I lose Miraidon, I probably lose the game. That was a lot of damage against a +2. I think Electro Drift in terrain should just get this knockout now. So we'll pivot out. And how clutch has Ho-Oh been, right? Just gotten multiple Tailwinds up in this game. It's survived the game for so long. They're going to Judgment us here. Should finally knock us out. But Ho-Oh has done its job for sure. Cool. We'll be able to U-turn out here. Fantastic. And now we can just bring out Miraidon plus Urshifu, which, like I said, was the win con that we were looking towards playing into. The one thing is I didn't really get to click Life Dew with Ho-Oh in this game, which would have been cool. I think there was maybe 1 or 2 opportunities for it, but neither of them felt like it was always like the best play. When they double protected with the Zacian and the Arceus, that was the opportunity to go for it, I think. But yeah, so now we can finally launch Electro Drift and close combat. We have to be so patient this game. But I think Water Terra Calm Mind was really cool here. And even if they end up surviving this, because we're faster, like, you can only knock out one of my 2 Pokemon. But yeah, that'll get the KO. So Water Terra Zacian plus Arceus means that the Miraidon's going to have a pretty good time. But with us not getting that knockout initially on Rillaboom and it being able to reset the terrain, it made things a little bit more challenging for us. But that was a really fun game. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. I had a lot of fun using this team. It is very different, honestly, from a lot of teams in this format, and I think to get to feature Ho-Oh in particular is really cool because Ho-Oh is a Pokemon that has existed, obviously, for so long in Pokemon, but never really gotten the chance to shine in too many VGC formats, and this Ho-Oh set in particular is also just so different from, like, the Clear Amulet and Sacred Fire sets that you might be used to seeing in this regulation. So, yeah, thanks so much, as always, for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. I'd appreciate it, and I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.